Cinderella, I'm your fairy godmother. I was gonna start with I'm your fairy godmother, and then you, like we usually do, but then you said that, threw me off, so I don't know what the hell that was. That was like Tim Curry from Rocky Horror Picture Show, Cinderella. So, great, now we have this really awkward opening.
Well, it's your show.
Bitch. Cinderella, or Ella, as we're now told was her real name the whole time. Don't I feel like an ass? I was calling her Cinderella. It turns out that's an insult.
It's actually Cinder T. Ella.
Cinder T. Ella, and I forgot her middle name, so I feel like a dick.
And it's Cinderella, not Cinderella. I've been pronouncing it wrong.
Well, that's just one of the many changes that happens in the updated Disney version of the classic fairy tale.
We'll probably be putting a lot of things in.
Yes. You know the story. It's
spoiler. We will say spoiler alert now, as if it frickin' matters.
It's kind of like finding out the ship sinks in Titanic. You know, it's just some stuff you kind of.
We will talk about the movie, including its supposed twists.
Like I say, you know the story. It's based on the fairy tale that Disney helped make even more popular and sort of almost copyrighted in its way because it's just so insanely popular. I had no desire to see this movie originally. Did you?
No.
But
my wife
we got wives, haha! so we went.
And marriage is a wonderful thing, isn't that right, Doug? Isn't that right?
So, but here's the thing that we should probably make very clear, because it did kind of get a conversation with us going. Okay, you saw it first. I didn't want to see it. I wasn't gonna do a sibling rivalry. You're like, dude, you gotta see this. Son of a bitch! And I was like, are you really getting mad about Cinderella? You're like, yeah, you just gotta go see it. And I saw
parts of it. I was honest though, and I said there were parts of it that were also really good on the technical side of things.
So you just really wanted to get feedback, but something we both agreed on before we even start this, which is probably just good to know. The Disney Cinderella, not talking about the original fairy tale, we're talking about the Disney Cinderella, the anime version. While not the best or most empowering or anything, I think we both kind of feel gets a bit of a bum rap. Everyone always
sees her. I just think it's overplayed. Like, there was like, it's the absolute worst, and I'm like, really? Because that's Sleeping...
worse.
Yeah, Aurora in Sleeping Beauty literally does nothing.
Yeah, no, she
twirls.
No,
she twirls. That is all she does.
Anne has no character.
She has 16 lines in the whole movie, I think.
And I think it's fair to say we both like the original Cinderella, but we both acknowledge, it has issues. It has issues and time differences and the times have changed and stuff. But I think what I really like about it is that even though you can make the arguments of, it's anti-feminist and stuff like that, to me, growing up watching it, I didn't see as much, well, why don't you do something? Why don't you go do whatever? I saw very much, here's a fucking hard worker who's caught in this place and is
kept ignorant and isolated and sheltered away.
Yeah, and
there's really not much she can do, which
especially
we'll
in the time period, too.
Which we'll bring up in, because this movie's different and it creates a whole series of problems.
Yeah, so, and also the fairy tale aspect, but you know what? Take that out. The moral is stand back, do nothing, you'll get your way. Bullshit. This woman works her ass off, and she is trying her best to keep this optimistic point of view and be nice to whoever there is. All there are fucking rats, so she'll just, whatever, I'll take what I got. They end up helping her in the end because of her kindness and because she did work so hard.
Well, and that's the point. The weird thing about the Disney movie is the original animated film is that it's just as much about the rats' reaction to her. Like, they're just as much main active players in the story.
Maybe a little too much.
No, and I agree, that's the problem. When their actions have no effect on the plot, when it's just like, and we're just gonna have a side cartoon, that's where the movie, for me as an adult, I'm just like, no. But when they take an active role, when they're trying to help her make the dress, when they're trying to help get her out of the room at the end, in, like, I think a friend called it Hitchcockian. It's like the ending to a Hitchcock movie. The rat's stuck in the pocket and trying to get the key out and then throwing it up the stairs and then the cat stops. And
it is very Vertigo at the end.
It gets really crazy, and so much of that movie, there's this weird, like, upstairs-downstairs dynamic of, like, if you treat the rats almost like they're fellow servants in the house, because that's almost what they're played off as. You've got the stepmother and the two stepsisters and the cat. That's its own universe, and then there's Cinderella and the rats.
I love how we were just going off just a brief summary of the movie. Now, okay, here is the class diversifying.
No,
the rats and the cats.
Look at it. Cinderella and the rats are in their own caste system, and really the rats are lower than Cinderella. What does she do? She doesn't treat them like crap like the stepmother's doing to Cinderella.
Or be into the cat or anything.
No,
yeah.
That's the thing. She saves the rats.
She saves like the civilization of people.
No, she saves, like, when you start putting it together, she saves Gus in the beginning. And then she has ready-made clothes for these rats. And I was watching this movie a second time and I suddenly realized, I'm like, wow, she must have done this like 100 times. There's like 100 freaking rats here.
You think they have like a church dedicated to her, the Church of Cinderella? Yeah, like, you know, she rescued us from bondage and led us to the promised land.
But she's building her own fucking Willard army of talking rats.
Okay, we're getting really sidetracked by this, but bottom line...
The point being, she's doing work.
Yeah, no, the point is that what I was getting to with the moral, at least from a guy point of view, like I said, I didn't grow up female, maybe it says something else, I don't know, but from a guy point of view, I saw very much, and so did Disney, because this was his favorite, that if you work hard and you stay kind and optimistic, somebody will notice and karma will work its way out, and that hard work and that kindness will pave a way to something really great.
It's not even always that someone will notice. She wants to get out as well, which I think is something we're going to have to talk about.
Yeah, we'll get to. But now, logically, you know, does the prince have any character? No. Is there too much focus on the mice? Yes. Is there,
does the fairy godmother make any sense in this movie? No, but she doesn't in any version.
But the same way I think, like, Wizard of Oz works. I don't think it operates... It's a fairy tale, very much so, and I don't think it operates on logic. I think it operates on emotion. And emotionally, I think not only is the character there, not the best, you know, but she's still someone... She'll get angry if someone goes across the floor, and she'll lose her temper, and she'll break down when all hope is gone, you know, when the dress is ripped apart and stuff. So there is an actual human being there.
Yeah, in this one, she's just more ho-hum.
Well, and which brings us to this movie, which makes several changes to try and update it and make it better and smarter and more logical.
Somehow makes it worse.
Yes. Well, okay. Some things work out well. Some of the changes they have a little bit more of a conversation with the prince. Thank you. The prince is nobody in the original.
The prince actually has a character.
Yeah.
You know, and all of those scenes are, let's be honest, shamelessly ripped off from Ever After, but that's fine. I'm like, you know what, you need to do that.
Yeah.
Like, have them meet first, they meet on horseback, and they're riding around, and their conversations are generally more interesting, and they have a conversation.
Yeah.
Does the prince have one line in the original animated film?
I think just...
Yeah, so...
Yes, so it is. Like, that's it, you know, nothing.
So, that's a good attempt.
That's a good attempt. There's attempts at adding a little bit more of, like, why she's still stuck there and how, you know, sort of the hierarchy of, like, you know, a prince has to marry a princess, not a servant girl or whatever she is.
There's an attempt by people in the palace, at least, to say, and at least the stepmother would be like, yeah, well, this ain't happening. What, you think she's gonna marry some... He's gonna marry some peasant girl?
So they try really hard to try and make this... I don't want to say more PC, but try to make a little bit more sense out of the morals that Disney has really been cursed for, like, you know, demonizing girls with and stuff like that, which a whole other conversation. but
the whole moral itself is simply be kind, have courage.
Yes, well, and we'll get to that in a second too. So for me, a lot of these, about half of these changes, I think are clever. I think are pretty smart. The other half, ironically, by trying to update it and make it more equal and make it more logical, it actually makes less sense because they're forgetting it's a fairy tale, and when you're trying to bring in this logic and balance it out, you're noticing all these other things that don't make sense about it, obviously because it's a fairy tale. And a lot of that comes around the biggest problem to me, which is Cinderella, who is not interesting in this, has little to no character, just
Way,
smiles
honestly,
and
less
goes,
compelling,
la-di-da.
yeah.
No,
less compelling than in the animated version where she
Yes.
did have a lot of character.
Yeah, I mean,
by comparison,
this is the thing. Whether you like or dislike the animated Cinderella, I understand either. Like, we're not gonna act like we don't see the arguments against it, but it's
that movie has a lot of problems.
Yeah, but
when I was watching it the second time, there were moments where I'm like, fast forward. Like, I was just like, I can't deal with these rats anymore.
Well, even
if it's not bearing on the plot.
But I mean, Cinderella again in the original is not the most fascinating, but you're still on her side and you feel her struggle because she will get angry, she will get furious, but she'll still keep her cool, and you see her trying to keep it together. She's always holding on, and like the rats is kind of like a nice escape.
The torment exhibited upon her is severe.
Yeah,
like there was this scene where she got caught doing something, and the stepmother, who is evil incarnate in the animated version, sitting on the bed petting the cat like a Bond villain, is just like, well, we can't have that, so let's have you do this and that, and wash the drapes, and then do the carpets, and like literally this list goes on, and I'm like, oh my god, so in this world there are consequences. Like, she is being kept in line by literally being told, you are going to do 1,000 things for every one thing you do wrong.
And there's never a part of her that's like, oh, okay, Tweedledee, whatever, I think what people confuse is that she's trying to keep her optimism and her hopes high while doing the chore, but when she has to do another one, it's like, okay, like, you'll get through this, you'll get through it. It's like she's trying to survive, and you can clearly see the hesitation.
She's working within the system.
So when she finally breaks in that scene that rips every little kid, I don't care if you're a girl or boy or whatever, rips every kid's heart out, when the dress is ripped apart, and she goes crying.
And we need to put emphasis on this. When the dress is violently, horrifically torn to shreds in what is maybe the closest thing to like a rape scene
I knew you were gonna say
a Disney film has ever had, like an anime, like literally they like rip her apart and she's just left there like, it's like violating, and like, and then they just saunter off and she's just left there in stone cold silence, like dress completely shredded, and you're just like, Jesus Christ.
But that scene is earned because you see how much he's putting up with and how much he is trying to keep optimistic, and we do get a scene. We get a scene in this actually kind of early on, and it's not a bad scene, and it's actually done at a good moment when finally the mother and the stepsisters are not letting her eat with them, and they pretty much say, you can't eat with us. It's saying you are not family, and she goes into the kitchen and she just drops everything and starts crying, and it works. That was a scene where it's like anyone would break. But the problem with that is, because she has so little emotion and she is too optimistic, too happy-go-lucky, too hopeful, which I didn't really think was possible under, such conditions, but there is never a point where you feel like she's losing anything or putting anything on the line. So when the big scene happens where they mildly rip the dress, it's not nearly as bad, and she goes out crying and stuff. I remember my wife leaned over to me and said, but it wasn't as big a deal as in the other one. No. I remember feeling so bad in the other one.
And some of it is the fact that it was such a violent scene in the first movie, in the animated film, and in this one it's just, like, just, it rips her sleeve off a bit, and a couple others, like, grab a ribbon or two. And I remember talking to you about this afterwards. I'm like, we've established in this movie that this Cinderella supposedly is, like, smarter, and so I was like, we've proven in this Cinderella she can ride a horse, because she hops on a horse early in the movie.
She goes to the village, has friends in the village that they claim she doesn't have. It's just the rats, but then she'll talk to other servants.
Sew the freaking dress up? Like, it should take 20 minutes. Hop on the horse and ride there herself.
It's a little rip, and then another little rip, and it's nowhere near destroyed.
Instead, she takes, like, she gets a case of the stupid flu and just is like, I don't have courage anymore. And I'm like, you have all the means, woman, to do whatever it is you need to do to get to this ball. This is not like the other one where literally she is left with a piece of cloth just tattered around her. It's like
a toga.
Yeah, and what makes it even stranger is she thinks she's going to see some apprentice at the palace. She doesn't even realize this guy's the prince. So I'm like, so you could have gone in a dress that you sewed up quickly to see a freaking apprentice. In the other movie, at least, I'm like, well, she's seeing a prince.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
they won't let her in.
Yeah, they won't let her in looking like that, but she just...
Well, and here's the thing, too, is that I can already hear what a lot of you are thinking right now. It's a fucking fairy tale, come on. But this movie really tries to go out of its way to, like I said, add more logic and add more reason. And in some movies and retellings, it can work. I think Frozen, it works very well. I think that was a good balance.
Frozen was pretty good. The Ever After was good. I mean, that's
Ever After is wonderful.
That's the exact opposite.
If you want
of this.
with the if you
its
want
silliness
with this,
is that it's so postmodern feminist message crammed in medieval times, but
But
at least
still,
there's character.
Yeah,
like, there's
it's so entertaining
character.
and it's so much fun, and I wanted to know where it was gonna go.
Yeah.
Well, and you felt the emotions of these characters because she's interesting. The characters are interesting. Some of the characters in this are interesting. The prince isn't that bad. The king is wonderful.
Claudius from Hamlet.
Yeah, I mean he's just always great. Kate Blanchett has
She has terrible.
Moments. No. She has moments, but here's the thing. Here's what I'm realizing with this. This movie, this retelling, has good starts of ideas. Like when you see sort of why the stepmother, why is she so mean to Cinderella and stuff like that? You see her get married. Yeah, but you see her watch the father and Cinderella and see like he misses the original mother a lot, and she realizes, well, I'm not gonna be the mother, I'm never gonna be true family, so she decides to sort of separate. Now that's really smart, but then they go too overboard and they have her do the wicked laugh and there's even a point where she's 2 seconds away from just saying, I'm evil.
That scene where you said you liked, where she says, you're not part of the family, it'd be better if you ate somewhere else. That scene is completely ruined because after Cinderella leaves, like, I swear to God, Kate Blanchett just is there and she's like, oh!
Yeah, they give her this
and
tacky,
I'm like, what are you, Cruella
laugh.
de Vil? What?
Yeah, and I know what they're trying to do. Again, this sort of ties in with trying to make it more realistic. Well, why would this, stepmother who's so rich and why would she think her granddaughters can be anything? And why would she dress them like this and stuff? Because she has to have some class. And they show like she's actually a bit of a party animal and she's into whatever's sort of new and current and really attention-getting.
They made her too much of a comic buffoon.
Again, that goes against what the emotion of the story is trying to do. And that's why when you try to add all this logic, it doesn't work.
Was pure evil and is still one of the most terrifying villains in a Disney film ever. And you can argue, well, what was your motivation? Who cares? She was free, like, she was scary. And that was the important thing, particularly to kids watching fairy tales. Like, you don't need them to be comic buffoons and you don't even need XYZ motivation. You just need to be able to be scared by them and take them seriously. I couldn't do either with Kate Blanchett. I'm like, you're way too goofy to take seriously, and therefore you're not scary.
Well, and I think, again, when people are... It's funny when we attack, like, the logic of a plot of really any movie. We attack The Matrix a lot for this. We attack Christopher Nolan films a lot for this, about them trying to over-explain everything. So what it does is that gets you in this mindset, okay, this is a world of logic and reason and technicals and details, but if you go too much into that, you're going to miss the most important part, which is making a connection, making an emotional connection. On top of that, you're going to question all the other things that you didn't address on, that no movie can address on, because you can't explain everything in a film, but because you're trying so hard, you're missing the emotional element. That's why films like some of the Disney fairy tales and Cinderella and Wizard of Oz, I argue Where the Wild Things Are as well, work because they're saying we're not even going to do the detail, we are going to do just a little bit of detail, but the emotion is what we want to get you on. You will feel for everything that happens to these characters where you don't.
Yeah, and the problem is every time they try to fix one problem, they open up 3 new cans of worms. And let's look at what the animated Disney film gave us. Too many rats, yes, and the prince has no character. These are 2 problems. But if you look at the logic holes, I can't figure out what Cinderella could have or should have done differently. Because
again, given the time period,
not even the time period. If you watch the Disney film closely, there's something I noticed. You never see the outside of that house, that chateau. You never see a village. You never see her ride a horse. I'm not convinced she can ride a horse even. She rides in the carriage, but there is literally anytime she's out of line, she's given 13,000 more chores to do. You have no idea what's out there. It could just be a big, giant, scary forest out there. The film never shows you. And in some ways, I think that works to its advantage, because as a child, I just took it on faith that you just don't want to go out there. What the hell is out there? How do you? Where are you gonna go?
On top of that, I brought up before, she got her when she was a child. Here she's at very least like maybe even older.
She looks 17, 18 at minimum.
I mean, so, and that's when the father dies, so it's not that long. She's, you know, almost pretty much a grown-up. You know, where with the other one, because she got her so young, it kind of makes sense over the years she would kind of brainwash her and stuff. And I do like, again, there's some things in here where they do sort of show the transformation of going from, you know, a stepmother who's just asking a chore here or there, is setting sort of standards to it just to getting more and more degrading. And it almost kind of works, but again, it just goes too far then into the fairy tale element. Where the logic suddenly doesn't make sense, and the two just are so competing with each other, trying to have its cake and eat it too.
This one, they show you what's outside the chateau. They show that she can ride a horse without a saddle and control its mane. She can kind of command the animals. She runs into some sort of deer stag and is like, "Go, run away," save from the prince's hunting party. And more importantly, she goes to the village at least twice for, as far as I can tell, is just running errands, picking up food, where she encounters former servants that were in the house who literally look at her and they're just like, "Why are you still there?"
Oh, sentimental value. She can leave whenever she wants.
My parents wanted me to watch after the house, and I shall watch after them. Yeah, no, I think
until I get married and go to the palace, in which case, someone else can grab.
You know what
else
I think your parents would have wanted? Well, maybe not your dad because he married a psycho, but they probably would have not wanted you to sit there and get abused 24/7 and browbeaten and live in the attic. In a house that the stepmother, the first thing she does in this movie is transform the inside of it to her likings. I'm like, it's not even your damn house anymore anyway.
So
it was such a bullshit excuse. I'm like, no, you're an idiot.
Well, and that's what it feels like to me. Rather than trying to, or ever after, try to retell Cinderella in a stronger, brighter light that, you know, is not flawless, but, you know, is more fun and interesting and has character and has emotion. You're invested and you like the twists and turns and stuff like that. These feel like they're making excuses. You know, the faults of the past are trying to say, no, we're not that, but you're leaving out what was so good
and the critics
about the original. Why people liked it to begin with.
For it. I can't believe this film is doing critically as good as it is. The fact that it's making money is no surprise. You slapped the words Disney and Cinderella on something. When I went to see it, I saw it opening night. There were literally girls in little Cinderella dresses showing up. I'm like, this will make money. But the fact that the critics just fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. I'm like, can't you see how this is just dumb?
The first 10 minutes of this might be the most
insufferable,
painful I've sat through a movie in a long time. Now, granted, I tried to avoid bad movies, but this is like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this.
Care Bears look like Requiem for a Dream.
I really thought, oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to get through this. Like, this is too bad, and it gets better, thank God. So just if you're dragged to this movie and you see the first 10 minutes, just take a breath. It'll get better because it is the most sugar-coated bullshit. I mean, like kindergarten bullshit.
Haley Atwell, Agent fucking Carter, who I love. She was great in Captain America. She was great in Agent Carter. Terrible in the first 10 minutes of this.
Terrible.
They like all of her lines like, always remember. Be kind. Have courage.
Yes, mother. Yes, mother. So smile.
It's like, the music. We're swell. We're so fucking happy. We're so fucking happy. Oh, Cinderella, isn't everything so wonderful? Yes, Papa.
Let's fly our little paper butterflies everywhere. Oh, do you think I'll really talk to animals? Well, if you believe. Oh,
yes. Kind enough. Poor Haley Atwell.
It's like,
poor Haley.
The first few minutes of this movie.
It's like if a Thomas Kincaid painting became a movie.
Oh no, and just add in like, you know, even more sugar-coated fluff shit.
Poor Haley Atwell having to deliver lines like, of course I believe you can talk to animals, and of course I believe fairy godmothers exist, and like, I'm just like, oh, this poor woman, she's so much better than this. And Lily James, who is fine in Downton Abbey, still playing a flaky character, I like better than this, and in this, it's just, everything she says is la-da-dee, la. It's like...
No, instead of giving her a character, they're trying to give this mold for girls to pretend to be. And that, I hate that.
And that's offensive to me.
Well, it's offensive when you do it with any character, boy or girl. I just hate that. Especially when you have a character, like I said, is not great, but is at least defined. She's a defined character, and this really has no defined character outside of we're going to shove some morals in your face. And when we get to, you know, morals to whatever updated morals, they're actually working more against it than for it. And when it got to the scene where they're at the ball, there she is. She has the carriage and she has the dress and everything. Everything looks wonderful, and they really take their time to have her soak it up and really enjoy it. And I was saying to myself, I feel nothing for her. I wish I did. And I was saying to myself, what if Anna was here? What if Elsa was here? What if Belle was here? What if Tiana was here? I would totally be emotionally invested, but
I'll tell you what, it's because she
nothing.
she didn't, nothing in this film was earned. She didn't earn it, and you could argue, what about the Cinderella doing the animated version? Well, okay, she tried to make the dress herself, and then they made her go back to work, so the rats did it, but it wasn't even about that. It's that the violation of ripping the dress apart was so horrific that at least you felt when she was getting the happiness at the ball, that it was somehow earned. And in this, there's no emphasis. I hate to say it, you need to torture her more.
No, you do. You need to show she feels that she can feel bad stuff happening. That is what makes conflict. That's what makes drama.
And if your moral is be kind, have courage, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up. How many times did we count? Yeah, 11 times. If you want to get technical, some of them were half. They either said be kind once or have courage, but so anywhere between 9 and 11 times. It's like what, like an average of every 5 minutes or something in this movie, or at least every 10 minutes. You can say it all you want. You can say be kind, have courage, but you know what? The original didn't need to say it. She just did it. You know, not only did she just do it, but there was just more of an outlet for her altruism. By having the mice talk, you could see the effect it had on the mice. They felt bad for her. They sang a fucking song where they're just like, they keep making her work. Let's make a dress for her. There was this concept that by anthropomorphizing the mice, you actually got a concept of her altruism paying off. In this one, it's just kind of like, yeah, she feeds the mice every once in a while. Once the cat looks like he's a chaser, she picks him up, but it just doesn't feel like much of a payoff. And then the fairy godmother was another good example. She's sitting there, and again, be kind, have courage. So Helena Bonham Carter plays the fairy godmother, and
she plays Johnny Depp playing the fairy godmother.
And she's dressed like an old lady, and she's like, can you spare some milk? And
I like that okay, though. I like what you were saying going
But here's the thing, that's fine. If she wants to say that's fine, but Cinderella basically just says, yeah, let me see if I can scrounge some up. And it's like literally right there in front of her. I don't know why the milk is outside, but so she puts it in the bowl. It's like, you know, it's just nothing like a little milk, but with a little kindness, it makes it so much better. And poof, she's the fairy godmother, and then she rewards her by doing this. I'm like, that was the medieval Facebook equivalent. That was the medieval equivalent of like hitting like on a political meme on Facebook. Like, I've done my social justice duty by clicking like on this meme. Like, I can get it. There was no work involved.
Well, no, you had a great idea for how to actually make it where that would work, and
how about that old woman keeps showing up at the door in Cinderella because she knows either the stepmother warns her, or literally the stepmother's like, I see you doing this again, you're getting punished. She knows it's going to get her in trouble, and she keeps feeding this old woman. And then the old woman reveals herself on that night that she's a fairy. There's consequences, there's work. There is no impetus for Cinderella to be courageous. It was not courageous for her to hand out a cup of milk that was just sitting there when the stepmother and sisters have already left and nobody's watching. It was just something like, it's just something you should do. There's no actual courage there.
There's, like I said, I think there's something to, you know, and maybe this does have to do with, there's an interesting conflict going on, maybe it's always been going on, I don't know, between saying a moral and just acting out a moral, or anything, or saying an emotion and acting out an emotion, and, you know, and both of those trying to feel it. And I think some films, like, you know, I do think of this, and I do think of, like, you know, the Christopher Nolan stuff and everything, where if they just say it, that doesn't make it so. You have to actually have the character experience it and feel it. And you never felt she felt anything because she was just too happy and too, cheerful and stuff. And then there's the one scene where she broke down and cried after. That was effective, very quick, very rushed, not a big deal, really. I mean, in the grand scheme of everything that happens in the movie, everything else, she's just so happy and just chill, just smiling, just smiling. I don't care. And it actually feels kind of like you said, even more offensive that she's. I
found it very offensive, because, very
like I said, in the original, she's clearly not happy being in that spot, but you can tell she's just trying to make the best of it.
She's working with inner means.
And she does
She's literally a house slave, basically. Trying to figure out how to get on while being enslaved.
And even then, just very subtle stuff.
It's not accepting, it's just, well, here's what I'm going to have to do to stay in one piece.
And also on top of that, even though, like I said, it's nice to have her go out, it's nice to have her talk with the prince, go to the village and stuff like that, in the other, she is just always doing a chore. I mean, always. And here, one time she gets a little soot on her face, but her dress...
that was my point. Yeah, was I not correct?
No. It is like some sort of new cloth they create, like a radioactive cloth that glows neon blue.
Homer Simpson blue.
Yeah, no, and
it literally, I don't know what Smurfs they killed and what Smurf blood they used to dye this dress.
But it is glowing, and she always looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no... Okay, put
Kenneth Branagh's idea of making her look world-worn is to throw a little soot on her face, but this dress never gets dirty. It's amazing. She's outside on horseback and this dress never gets dirty.
So
she's cleaning and never gets dirty. And okay, I will say this. Here's the irony of it. I don't have a problem with be kind, have courage as being immoral. And I think there's this mistake nowadays. I think a lot of times characters that have feminine traits get downplayed as oh, well, that's not a real empowered female because they're using kindness. And, I don't care about that. Seriously, they don't all have to be Sarah Connor or Arya Stark or Drew Barrymore in Ever After or Ripley or something waving a gun around or a sword, but you need some sort of outlet and payoff for that moral. And if you're gonna keep saying be kind, do something with that. I thought it would have been better to have the villagers try to help Cinderella out because she was kind to them earlier, or play them up. Throwing it to the mice that you're not making talking anymore, it doesn't work now in the update. And the courage, there's just no courage on her part anywhere in this movie.
The only thing I could see is maybe, it takes courage to forgive. I mean, which is, okay.
Yeah, but then the movie still had it. See, that's a case where the movie had its cake and ate it too. Because, I forgive you, mother. And then it's just even though they were forgiven, they still left the kingdom and never returned. I'm well, and I guess that worked out, didn't it? But the thing about the no courage is, and this is what offended me the most, is I'm okay, I can look at the first half of the movie and even the fairy godmother, it's okay, there's not much of an outlet, whatever. But there is this scene where it's announced she's in the village again, and it's announced, hey, whoever was at the ball that the prince recognizes, she comes and he'll marry her. And so Cinderella automatically is score! So she hops on the horse, rides back, goes into the attic. I'm not sure why. Maybe just to change her dress.
The slipper's up there, right? And
I guess
the mother has.
Okay, yeah, I guess the slipper's up there. Though, why does she need the slipper? The prince would recognize her instantly. He saw her when she wasn't all dolled up. So
man, maybe he never. I think it is kind of emphasized. The story is kind of a foot fetishist. Dream come true. So maybe he just always looks at I'm sorry, I have a thing. I just have a thing.
I need the shoe.
Oh, you have a face.
Not without the shoe. Yeah. So she goes back and probably the only really good Cate Blanchett scene and good reveal, the stepmother's already waiting there with the slipper in hand. And it was the only time in the movie I felt that she was legitimately threatening. And she's where did you get it? Did you steal it? This and that. And Cinderella's just yeah, it was given to me. She makes up kind of a quasi-lie, basically. The old Ben Kenobi trick. Well, what I said was true from a certain point of view. So basically the mother says, okay, all right, okay. And then here's what we're going to do. You're going to go with this slipper, and I'm going to go with you. And because no one will believe that some peasant girl, so I'm going to introduce you. and basically make up some sort of lie, and then you're gonna marry the prince, and then we're gonna marry off my 2 idiot daughters to a couple of lords, and then I am going to run your lives as the head of the household.
Now, if you were in that situation, what would you do? What were the kids at your screening saying they would do?
The kids at the screening I saw, let me say, so I think we all know what we all would do, because a 5-year-old could figure it out.
And did!
Yeah. The correct answer is, well, you lie and say you're going to do that and then confess everything at the palace in front of the prince who you know really loves you, and you can pretty much prove that the stepmother's insane. So, but no. At this point, Cinderella says, no, I will not go. I will stand up to you, and you've ruined my life, but I won't let you ruin his. To protect him, I won't let you do it. To which the mother basically is like, okay, goodbye, and locks her in the room. The amount of whispering that went on in that screening from all of the children in the audience to their parents, that you could just see the thought bubbles of her, why didn't she just lie? And the parents are like, So she makes the critical mistake of doing that. The queen, or not the queen, the mother then goes and cuts some deal with the duke and is just like, I'll tell you what, we can't let Cinderella get married, you don't want this to happen either, so let's just make sure Cinderella is never seen again, and we go on with our lives.
Another good scene. That was a good addition.
It was a great scene because Cate Blanchett delivers it perfectly. He says, are you threatening me? And she just says, yes. Great delivery, but... So, okay, so then he's like, I will make it look like I'm trying, so let's try this shoe on every girl in the land, this and that. This is a small kingdom, but I'm gonna say, like, all the women in the land, and they mention clearly that the Tremaine's house is the last house, and there's a whole montage. This...
Oh, my bad.
Okay. Interrupted. Sorry. This has to be days. Days that this is happening. So where is Cinderella?
Well, she's obviously, in the attic, starving, I guess.
She's still in the attic! And, like, I'm like, okay, maybe she hasn't found a way out yet. Like, maybe, I could see that. Maybe you're just stuck up there. The narrator says, and I quote, Cinderella did not hear who came to the door, nor did she care, because no one was there to see her, surely. Okay, where do we start?
Okay, again, and this is This is because you're trying to bring logic into this story. Good God.
Yeah. So where do we start with this? First, I would just assume at any age, I remember being a kid, but at any age, and she's got to be 19, I'm just naturally curious if people come up in the driveway. Second, it clearly demonstrates that the window can be opened from the inside because the mice do it. I'll explain that in a second. So she doesn't even bother to open a window to see if anybody's ever coming up. Third, she should care. Fourth, she should be doing something to get the hell out of there. 5, why haven't, in the past few days, if she's been locked up there, she at least tries to shout to anybody within distance that may come to the house, leave the window open, and say, hello, I'm being kept prisoner up here.
6, she's not even worried. Like, she is literally just dancing around, thinking of her prince again. Like, she's humming a song.
She is a dead girl walking. She literally, Cate Blanchett says, he's like, and what do we do about the peasant girl or whatever? Do whatever you want with her. I don't care. I mean, it's implied right there. Just kill her. I don't give a shit. And they imply that, oh, Cinderella speaks French. Oh, she rides a horse. Oh, she reads all these books. So they're implying she's smart. And I'm like, she hasn't figured out that she's just a dead woman being kept up there in the attic because her mother just revealed she's committing fucking treason? Like, lying to the court of the kingdom? Like,
so because of this, the rats, go and open the window, and because she's just so happy thinking of her
my God,
she's
it's painful.
Singing, Folly Dolly Doll, whatever, and they hear it, and it's like, do you have another maiden up there, and stuff, so, unless, her standing around and doing that, there's much more of her standing around doing nothing, where, again, in the animated one, she sees the door closed, she's like, no! Yeah. Are the rats out there? Rats, go down there, get the key, the mother has a key, go get it, is the dog out there? The dog, go get the dog!
Yeah, no, that's my favorite.
Get the dog!
I mean, like, the cat at the last second stops the rats, and Cinderella finally gets the brilliant idea, like, call the dog, throw the cat out the fucking window if you have to, do whatever you gotta do to get me the fuck out of this room. In this one, the mice literally create this little chain to
no, they're trying to get her attention, like, hey, look, up here. And this is the proactive Cinderella that they're trying to
be fair,
emphasize.
That kind of happens when she's like, in a daze thinking she's gonna marry the prince in the animated one, but once she gets aware that she's trapped, then she's like, get me the hell out. And this one, yeah, she's like, la-di-da, and the rats finally, like, I wish they were subtitled. That would have been great, because they literally were like, bitch, look down here, look down here. So finally they all make a chain and open the window, and all she does is sit there and she's just singing la la li 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 la dil da hey nani nani and twirling her hair and prancing around in there. But it's like she was remembering the better times with her prince and this and that. And I'm like, and then it just cuts to the rats sitting there, and I'm just like, the subtitle I had to read, come on, lady, like do something.
And something else I'll say about that scene. This is the last really negative thing I'll say about it, because I want to say at least one or two good things I liked about it. But is that again? I'm only saying it because so many people bitch on the anime one. You know, some of it founded, but a lot of it, I'm like, I think you're missing something here that this one is not getting, because so many critics loved it. Which is that, you know, if you're thinking like, oh, well, she can't lie, you know, say like, oh yeah, I'll do that, stepmother, and then...
But she did!
No.
When she said it was given to me, it was a lie from a certain point of
So
view.
it's already one lie, but two, in the animated one, you know, when she hears that the prince is coming, gonna try the shoe on everybody, she's already working on it. They're like, you know, what are you doing, dummy? We gotta get dressed. And she's like, she's holding their clothes like, oh yeah, you're right. Here, hold that. And she's already walking off, not telling them what she knows.
She knows what she's gonna do. She's like, oh yeah, the second this comes here, I got the slipper. I know what I'm doing. Which, by the way, was another thing, is like, she finally gets let out in the animated film, and she comes out and she's like, wait! Like,
yeah,
it's me!
She has passion, she cares, she gets upset,
when the slipper is lost,
when the
slipper is lost, there's like this great scene where it's just like, bam! And she's like, literally, but I have the other slipper, bitches. and the stepmother's like, oh, fuck! Like, in this one, it's like the prince shows up with the slipper, and he's like, and he showed up with the entourage, and the prince did all the work. She didn't do jack fucking shit.
So yeah, I guess what I'm really saying with this is that as much as you want to crap on the original, which I can't act like, you know, some of it is not founded. I'm not gonna act like, no, this is an empowering, strong. It's like, no, I kind of get it.
The original was Sarah fucking Connor compared to this movie.
But there is still, if you look at it from an emotional standpoint, and you look at it from anyone, boy, girl, anything. Lots of boys like Cinderella. I'm not, you know, I mean... I
liked it for the rats, mostly, but I mean, that was the only nice thing about the rats. The rats actually provided an outlet for boys who just may want a little slapstick.
I disagree a little bit, though, because I know a lot of other boys that feel legitimate. I mean, we're not crying or anything, but it's like we feel legitimately bad when that dress is ripped off and she runs off.
No, that's true.
You are emotionally invested. Find me, like, a child. A friggin' child. Now you know there's gonna be one out there, but you know, when that scene happened, if they show on the big screen the anime one where it's ripped apart and she goes off crying, you will hear a dozen kids crying. You will hear nobody cry in the audience.
I agree.
When she's crying in this, you are not emotionally invested.
And the song afterward is about, I'm like, you know, and there may be some boys out there who watch the whole thing through and love the whole thing. Like, I'm more talking about, like, okay, the scene where she's dancing with the prince and this is love.
Whatever, yeah.
I fast, like, even as a child, didn't we fast forward?
Oh yeah, always.
I don't ever remember seeing that whole. Yeah, exactly. You know.
But honestly, and again, this is I'm saying the movie. There's no emotion there. It's like, oh, I'm in love, and that is a fault with the movie. But even here, trying to do the chemistry and trying to make it more realistic and more ethical and stuff, it is still just like a 3-4 day romance.
I guess my point is, I feel like the animated film could be tailored to boys and girls. Like, it was kind of a little something for everybody. This one, the way it was shot, and like the focus, like we should talk briefly about the dress transformation scene. Like, I remember the original, and it was, Disney said it was his favorite scene in the movie, but like, yeah, she waves the wand, and the dress flows over, and it's a few seconds, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I swear to God, in this one, like, she swirls around in this dress for what feels like 5 minutes, just round and around, twirling, twirling, and she like gets this orgasmic, like, yeah, and I'm like, it was at that moment that I'm just like, this is little girl porn, and I don't.
That sounds really bad.
I know. Before you take it out of context, not little girl porn, but porn literally made for little girls, where it's like all the emphasis on the dress and the glitter and the sparkles, right down to the fact that she never gets dirty. The original Cinderella wore some crappy little, like, the dress Cinderella wears the whole movie is gorgeous. You know, and I'm just like, I don't get that this is made for everybody. It feels like cynical, little, like, porn made for little girls to simply sell dresses.
But under the guise that we're empowering, we're making changes.
Under the guise, and critics fell for it. Even in the dress scene, I was telling you about that. What does she say? She finds her mother's dress, this pink dress, and the stepmother and the sisters make fun of it. Oh, it's so out of fashion. Oh, you'll get left out. And I'm thinking, wow, what a terrible thing to say. Like, it means something to her and this and that, and, you know, so I'm just like, okay, well, that was cruel of them, and that scene worked because it should be about the cruelty. So the fairy godmother's like, and we'll make you a new dress, and she's like, wait, I like this dress. This was my mother's dress, you know, it has sentimental value for me. It's like I'm taking her with me if I wear this dress. And the fairy godmother's like, well, can I just change it a little? And she's like, yeah, okay. And then creates a completely different dress. I'm
nothing
like,
from the other one is in
how
this
much
one.
of a pushover are you? That, like, it's literally, I would have looked at it, I was like, yeah, can I get something that was like, I mean, this is just completely different.
So, all right, with all that said, believe it or not, I don't hate this film. It's just the stuff, like I said, I take great insult that they're trying to add so much logic and empowerment. Fair enough.
That doesn't add anything to it. It still feels like a lesser version of the original film.
You're leaving out the character, you're leaving out the emotion. I still stand by that is the most important. You can still have a working, functional, you know, powerful film. More of the emphasis are on the character and the emotion than the story and the details.
All of the cinematography, all of the great dresses, all of the good music, all of the sets, all of the things that do make this film good, but if you don't have some sort of core or center to it...
Well, I was going to say, some of the actors, I really want to just point out, like, you know, and we're talking about this Cinderella, whether she wasn't allowed to or she's not. I mean, you've seen her on Downton Abbey. Like, she's fine. I mean, nothing phenomenal.
She played the same character on Downton Abbey in the sense that she's kind of flaky. And she was much better because that character had depth written to it.
But you need someone that's going to bring something to this role that doesn't have much, but you can do something with it. And you look at the king in this, and he brings so much
to a minor role.
Yeah, to so little. And I felt really bad when that guy died. I was just like, oh no, and it was shot nice, and it took time for
I wish it was in a better movie almost, because it was so gorgeously composed, and I felt so bad for these two characters. That's part of the problem, though. Most of the things that made this film better that would make this film better than the original all went to the prince. There was nothing really to help Cinderella out. The prince is a great character.
Yeah, actually, he's taught much more about responsibility and what to do and stuff like that. Which, you know, it kind of, he's gonna be a king. And so she's technically never a princess in this, so I like that. Because when he marries her, he's king. So it's like you don't get your princess thing there. But
that won't stop them from selling the dresses
no, of course,
at the Disney
but that's
store.
just always so fun. You know, you kind of wonder how
Here's your Queen Cinderella dress.
But yeah, that stuff is good. Some of the minor actors, I think, are very good. The layout, of course, it's a Kenneth Branagh film.
It's gorgeously shot.
It looks unbelievable.
And it makes Joel Schumacher's Phantom of the Opera look like Angela's Ashes or Fight Club. It is just so like glitzy and colorful that it's almost retina burning, but he actually got away with it.
But and they're very clever, like having pretty much the whole set be gold and then her dress be blue. It's like immediate contrast. I mean, so it's very clever. And like I said, the beginnings of some really good ideas and stuff that could really make this story stronger are there. There's good beginnings. Something like Ever After follows through. I feel like this movie is trying to be Ever After, but still try to have the stuff that makes Disney really, really marketable.
Well, and this is
the productivity in there as well. And I don't think you can do both because they're so going against that.
Well, this is my point.
They're constantly dividing.
It's the old doctor's phrase. Above all, do no harm. And above all, if you want to do, because I know some critics are like, well, it's a traditional return to the, you know, if you want a better traditional return, watch Princess and the Frog. That was a return to old school Disney I thought worked.
But again, Frozen does it well. Tangled does it very well.
Tangled did it well, and Tangled is a Cinderella story. It's like, I'm trapped in the tower, and like I felt like there was more of a character there to that girl than there ever was to Cinderella.
Imagine if Rapunzel was there going to the ball, so I'd be like, oh, what? Like,
I'd be way more invested.
This is wonderful. And so it's like the beginnings of good ideas are there, and they start to be touched upon, but then they fall victim to, I get, the only word I can think of is the marketing. you know, or that, hey, we can't be too distinct. We have to make it so that, you know, the little girls can still imagine themselves as this character, so let's make her a little blander, and let's make these ideas not fully realized, because we have to have the traditional stuff.
You could have, that's what bothers me, is that...
No, and they have in a lot of movies. That's what bothers me, too.
I would have been perfectly happy with this film. Perfectly happy if it were simply a lateral move. If we went from the old animated Cinderella straight across to this one, I'm like, okay, you didn't change any much, but the core and the heart of the story is still there, and this and that. You know, hey, if you made it even better, if you want to go like Ever After or Tangled or some update that you feel works fine, but this is a regressive move. This just went like backwards from a film made in the 1950s. It went backwards.
Well, and again, I think they're missing the core focus is you have to be emotionally invested, and you can't be with this character.
And you have to have at least...
She's not interesting.
Well, and even if she were a little more interesting, I just don't buy the amount of passivity in her character. I found offensive. Like, you don't, as I said, you don't have to be Arya Stark waving a sword around, but you have to
But the other got angry.
Yeah, not even just angry, but you just have to do the bare minimum, like, open a window. Like, that doesn't seem like too much to ask for in a female character. To just care enough to be aware of your surroundings. Like, that's not a lot to ask of a female character. I don't need some postmodern feminist interpretation. I need somebody who can at least be like, maybe I should open a door and at least shout for help. That's the thing. It's like, she's not even a damsel in distress. She's just a damsel. Damsel in distress implies that they feel they're in distress. She just... You think Belle has Stockholm Syndrome? Some people argue Belle has Stockholm Syndrome. Man, this one's just crazy. She's like, and I've been locked in here for days, and I'm gonna dance. La-da-dee! I'm like, you're insane.
I think this film, overall, I think it has good setups. Actually, wonderful setups. Both visually and even in some of the setups of the story and the characters they're set up, they are not... pushed all the way through, and they stop halfway.
A movie at best.
Yeah, and I think because of that, unlike the original that had definitely things wrong with it, you know, and things that you can really be like, that's a big problem, and fair enough, but it did follow all the way through with, you know, a lot of very important elements, and that's why kids, even though there are things that you could argue are not good lessons, are still going to be watching that and not this one, because it did go all the way and you were emotionally invested. And as I always say, I mean, it's like, well, people know, they grow up and they know it's a fairy tale, but they remember the emotional attachment.
Yeah. And the original one's moral was based on kindness and some aspect of courage, but in the original, she was just really ignorant and kept that way. So all she literally had was kindness and courage. They made this one smarter, and she never uses that intelligence for anything. Like anything. And I'm like, okay, so your moral is when faced with impossible situations, don't use your intelligence or whatever book smarts you may have gleaned or, you know, some sort of savviness working in the bowels of this house. It's just sit there and take it. And maybe by pure luck, your kindness and compassion will save you. That works if you're ignorant and have nothing. But if you have the means to do something, good Lord, like, and that's why to me it's offensive, because I could tell, like, I've got nieces and nephews and I could show them the animated film and be like, see, you know, if you're kind to those around you, in this case it was the rats, but if
you work hard,
if you're kind, then maybe your friends will help you pay it forward. It doesn't always work that way. Some people will betray you, some people be jerks, but, you know, she helped all these mice out. She, you know, was kind and tried to work within it. And when trapped in a room, if somebody locks you in a room, kids, you bang on the door and you scream.
Get out! Get out!
And you try to get out. Ever After, you know, it's like, you see, kids, if you work hard and you study books and, you know, you try to become your own person and you know, at least have some sense of street smarts, you may be able to bust your way out of a situation at the end. And, you know, maybe you can impress a guy by having a brain. This one, I just see, kids, if you're locked in a room and are being abused and threatened to be killed, yeah, just sit there.
But they say be kind and have courage. Well, okay, what does that mean? I don't know. I just heard the words a lot.
I just sit there like, really, it just condones abuse. Like, that's the weird thing, because at least the previous Cinderella was like, oh, hell no, you ain't locking me, fuck this. This one just, la-da-dee, I'll think of happier times.
Even Belle left.
Yeah.
When she had a chance to leave, she left.
Yeah, even Belle tried to leave. Like, it's just offensive. Like, it really offends me. And the fact that so many critics fell for this hook, line, and sinker, just, I will never get it. Like, this is one of those I'm going to disagree with the majority of critics on until my dying day.
I think I would have liked it fine if they did one of two things. No, actually, the first one is a must. You have to make her interesting. I don't... truth be told, every character, every person's going to have flaws, and they're going to be different. Not everyone, like you said, has to be Sarah Connor, has to be Ripley.
No.
You know, but you have to be...
like, have some interest in their station in the world.
You should like...
Mere childhood curiosity is better than what Cinderella does in this film.
But you should make something distinct. You should like something that is distinct and interesting about them. And second, you had to either go all fairy tale or go all logic, or you have to have a better combination like they did in Tangled, Frozen, Princess and the Frog, and so on and so forth, where it's a good combination. And this one is just, it just doesn't mash up. I appreciate a lot of the visuals. I appreciate what it was trying to do and what a lot of things started off to do, but yeah, it didn't come through for me.
I don't think,
I don't find it quite as offensive, but
I'm not saying that.
Like
I don't think. I'm not sure it was some sort of conspiracy on the director and screenwriter's part. Like, we're gonna set girl characters back like 100 years with this one.
I'm sure they thought they were doing the opposite.
I think they thought they were trying. I think by trying to give her token ways to appear smarter. Like, I think they thought they were doing the character a favor, but by not really paying attention to the rest of the script, they actually did a disservice. And
it's kind of like when they try to make... It's like when they try to make Lois Lane smarter. It's like, fair enough, but you can't have her always be a damsel in distress then, because, like, you know, April O'Neil, I always sort of defend, like, hey, look, yeah, she gets captured all the time, that's kind of part of her character. She's a little bit of a doofus and always wants the story, and she's kind of greedy, but that's also kind of her charm. She loves her job, and she's funny, and she's distinct, and, you know, having a ball through it all. Where
I always
when
thought
you
it would be
make
funnier
them
if
smarter, suddenly, no, but when you
She would have worked better as a tabloid reporter, is the only mistake the cartoon made.
No,
because a tabloid reporter would go into any... Yeah.
No, but
Channel 6 News is highly respected, sir. You take that back.
But you know, but like in the cartoon, we make Lois Lane smarter and more intelligent. Then she looks really dumb and really
when she
demeaned
does dumb things.
When she does really dumb things or gets captured, doesn't get herself out of the situation whatever.
That is totally.
You know, and again, male or female, it's just you make them interesting. You'll forgive a lot more. It just has to be part of the character.
Well, and the questionable thing is, I swear to God, there's an interview out there with Kenneth Branagh going, oh yes, no, well in this one she's not a damsel in distress, like in, you know, the other incarnations of movies and this and that. I'm like, did I see the same movie?
No, Ever After.
Did Kenneth Branagh direct a different film and Disney secretly released another one? Like, or does the mouse have a gun to Branagh, like, just off screen? He's like, yeah, that's it, good, stick to the script,
If you want a much better, more proactive and smart and funny and everything Cinderella movie, go see Ever After. I think we pushed it like a million times here.
But if you just want the bare bones, like, just really just above and beyond this Cinderella, if you just want a bare bones Cinderella who at least gives somewhat of a shit, then the animated film.
Yeah.
Like, either one works for me. It's just this one that I'm like, what the
Yeah, I mean, those, and I think you pointed out, those are two very opposite ends of the spectrum, but both have faults, you know, but both have such, you know, charm, and you like the characters, and you want to see them get through it, and you are invested, and if the main character is not invested, why should we be?
A minimal interest in the world around you. And I think that is the healthiest thing you can teach a child is to at least have some sense of curiosity. It's like, no, be invested in the world around you and pay attention. Just, all you need to do is just pay attention. And at least that Cinderella, as ignorant as she was, kept that way, did that. And the one in Ever After is like Stephen frickin' Hawking compared to, you know, that one. This one just, she's brain dead. Literally, she could have been Sleeping Beauty. You could have just knocked her out and made her asleep in the last part of the film and had the prince come in. Like, she just twirls her hair and like dances, and again, I'm not making that up. She literally does that while they're downstairs trying on the shoes.
Yeah.
Hey, naughty, twirl. I'm gonna pretend to dance. And like,
if she was depressed, maybe, you know, at least like, you know, it's just hit her so hard. I'm not saying make it much
even
better,
if there was,
even
if there was one scene where she was against the window like this, just how am I gonna get out of here? Like, this sucks. Even that.
But no, she's happy. No, maybe better times.
Her spirits wouldn't be broken, and that's the thing. you can go through life without your spirit being broken while trying to better yourself. Or, let's say, get the hell out of Dodge because your evil stepmother's going to kill you.
So, yeah, we've really gone out on this one.
Stupid.
So, yeah, that's our thoughts. We'll be back.
If you like dress porn, by all means see it. It's a very pretty movie.
Yeah, cinematography, and good cinematography and stuff like that. Like
if you want anything even resembling, if you want a character even resembling the competence of the first Cinderella, yeah, you're not gonna.
Yeah, I didn't find it as bad, but I definitely like the animated one more, and I definitely like Ever After more. But that's not Disney, so it almost no point comparing it. But yeah, so that's our thoughts. Let you know what we think of Tim Burton's Dumbo.
No.
Yes, that's a thing now.